Hello, everyone. When Mother Nature gets angry, nothing can stop her. In a split second, floods, fires, landslides, everything is destroyed. Have you ever witnessed a moment so shocking it sent chills down your spine? Let's uncover the most terrifying scenes of nature's raw power. South Humboldt resident Wendy Kornberg captured the unbelievable moment when a massive wall of mud suddenly surged down,
Holy cow!
slamming through a barricade and pushing it across the road. Road workers could only scream, "Run!" before fleeing in chaos.
Whoa! Back up!
The terrifying landslide quickly buried part of Highway 101 in Northern California, leaving behind a scene of devastation like a nightmare had just passed. A man tragically lost his life after being swept away by raging floodwaters while trying to cross a deeply submerged road. Despite his desperate struggle, he couldn't overcome the overwhelming power of an enraged Mother Nature. The harrowing scene left witnesses in shock and served as another deadly reminder of how dangerous it is to misjudge storm conditions. A violent avalanche suddenly struck the Montebello residential area. Causing serious damage to at least 5 homes. The crushing weight of snow and ice rushed down the mountain, shattering windows, collapsing roofs, and sweeping away everything in its path. Residents had only moments to flee in panic, leaving behind a trail of destruction. A massive wildfire is raging in Los Angeles, turning the sky into a blazing orange and swallowing everything in its path. The fire spreads like a storm, burning down forests, homes, and forcing thousands to evacuate in despair. Soaring temperatures and thick black smoke are making firefighting efforts nearly impossible. This isn't just a fire, it's a warning from an enraged Mother Nature. Furious vortexes, carrying the power of a jet engine, formed beneath a low-pressure system just meters above the ground. With winds equivalent to an EF3 tornado, the twister tore through everything: roofs, cars, even reinforced concrete walls. Its sudden and violent appearance left residents fleeing in panic. This is one of the clearest, most terrifying signs of Mother Nature's destructive fury. During a massive storm in Taiwan, a vehicle was trapped in a landslide cascading down from a mountainside, narrowly missing a colossal boulder. Relentless heavy rain had weakened the hillside, leading to the sudden collapse. The driver escaped the life-threatening situation just in the nick of time. A violent dust devil suddenly formed, sweeping away personal property and plunging the entire area into chaos. Fierce winds spun clouds of dust into the air, ripping off metal roofs, scattering belongings, and damaging homes. Once again, nature reminded humanity of its fragility in the face of such fury. A man was cycling along a mountain road when he noticed the ground beginning to slide. He instantly ditched his bike and ran, escaping just seconds before a massive section of the mountain gave way. Fortunately, he survived unharmed. People stood frozen in shock as a gigantic landslide came crashing down from the mountain, burying several homes below. The roaring mass of rock and soil devoured everything in its path, leaving behind a scene of devastation in mere seconds. A curious crowd gathered in Argentina to witness the mass melting of glaciers, as enormous chunks of ice cracked and plunged into the icy waters below. The thunderous noise and overwhelming visuals left everyone stunned by the terrifying power of Mother Nature. A major landslide blocked all traffic in the area, unleashing chaos as rock and debris flooded the road and sealed off every route. Helpless bystanders could do nothing but watch as the Earth's furious wrath unfolded before their eyes. Residents watched in horror as the wrath of nature took form. Raging floodwaters surged through, sweeping away everything in sight. Amid the chaos, screams echoed through the air, while people could only stand by in helpless disbelief at nature's unstoppable force. A hillside suddenly collapsed with immense force, sending an avalanche of soil and rocks crashing directly onto the homes below. The horrifying scene sent everyone into a panic. Screaming and desperately fleeing the area, Mother Nature gave no warning, and in that fleeting moment, life and death were separated by a single heartbeat. A massive landslide just struck the mountain village of Jotai, wiping out everything in its path. The entire hill seemed to collapse, with earth and debris rushing down into the village within seconds, triggering a wave of panic as residents scrambled to escape. Houses were buried, and chaos unfolded in an instant. Nature was truly furious. An unexpected landslide abruptly blocked a major route, completely paralyzing traffic. At the same time, a remote mountain village in Dolpa was violently struck as rock and debris thundered down the slope. Villagers fled in desperation, powerless as nature unleashed its rage without warning. A severe landslide occurred just as workers were building a new road in the mountainous village of Tati. Earth and rocks suddenly poured down, swallowing the entire construction site. The incident plunged the village into a state of emergency, leaving locals stunned by nature's brutal force. Heavy flooding from nearby mountains triggered a devastating landslide in a remote village in NPL. In an instant, earth and debris cascaded downward, sweeping away everything in their path. Residents fled in panic as the entire village was engulfed in mud and floodwaters. A sudden flash flood struck the Toronto area, severely impacting daily life and submerging multiple roads underwater. At the same time, the raging waters swept away vehicles and caused massive disruption. The overwhelming force of nature once again left the city reeling. A mountain is blazing fiercely, with flames rapidly devouring the entire forest in a thick, choking cloud of smoke. The glowing red inferno feels like a furious warning from nature itself. Who has the power to stop this wave of destruction? A violent flood is slowly engulfing an entire village, sweeping away homes, belongings, and forcing residents to evacuate in a panic-stricken rush. As the relentless water continues to rise, the village disappears beneath the furious waves of nature's wrath. This time, the tidal surge rose without warning and brought with it a violent force that sent everyone near the riverbank into a chaotic scramble for safety. The once calm river transformed into a towering wall of rage, turning the entire scene into chaos in a matter of seconds. A super typhoon sweeping across southern China brought terrifying wind gusts of over 230 kilometers per hour, making it impossible for motorcyclists to stay upright as they were thrown violently to the ground. The streets turned into scenes of destruction, trees uprooted, rooftops torn apart, and citizens bracing themselves helplessly against nature's unrelenting fury. A high-rise building suddenly collapsed completely during a horrifying landslide. Rocks and soil swept everything away within seconds. Nature lashed out in rage, and humans could only stand by in helpless shock. Are we becoming too complacent in the face of disaster?
Vente. Camínale, brother, camínale.
Costa Rica's Poás volcano suddenly erupted with explosive force, sending clouds of ash and smoke hundreds of meters into the sky. The deafening roar echoed like a warning from deep within the earth. Once again, nature reminded mankind of its uncontrollable might. A riverside house began tilting and collapsing into the raging floodwaters. Under the brutal force of nature, its fragile foundation gave way, and in the blink of an eye, the entire house was swallowed by the violent current, leaving behind devastation and stunned witnesses. A massive landslide just occurred, dragging an entire section of the hillside down into the valley below. However, it was incredibly fortunate that no one was injured and no property was damaged. Nature may have raged, but this time, humanity escaped by a hair's breadth. A small village trembled in fear under the wrath of Mother Nature. As the nearby mountain began to collapse, rocks and soil thundered downward, forcing all residents to flee in a panic. There was no time to hesitate. Just a moment of delay could have meant total devastation. Air 15 flew over the raging Rodeo Chudisky fire, capturing a terrifying sight. An endless sea of flames, with thick black smoke swallowing the lush green forest. Towering columns of fire, several stories high, spread relentlessly, threatening everything in their path. a waterfall suddenly surged violently in Chernobyl, Italy, trapping a car right on the edge of the rushing water. The rising flood roared as if ready to devour everything in its way. In that breathless moment, viewers could only hold their breath, wondering whether the car would be swept away.